Hello again. This is Vandana here with the third episode of Inspire. 11th September marks the day when Swami Vivekananda made his historic speech at the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago. Swamiji did not represent any organization from India, unlike the others who had joined as representatives of different faith. After traveling the length and breadth of nation as a parivrajak, he had seen what his nation had come to. A nation that had become doomed into inactivity and hopelessness. A nation that had been driven to believe that they were incapable of doing anything good, let alone great. It was September 1893, the year when Swami Vivekananda, the first monk, had crossed the sea. A time when even crossing the sea was considered inauspicious. A historic event indeed, for it was the first time that the Western world had seen a monk speak such fluent English. It was the first time that someone spoke about India and the greatness of the land with such fervour. It was the first time when the West woke up and saw what India had to offer to the world other than its material wealth, its great treasure of spirituality. The West had been sending its missionaries then also to preach the message of their Lord. But it was Swamiji who put the idea of Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, the great saying of our spiritual texts, in front of the whole world. This formed the basis of his message of universal brotherhood. The journey for Chicago started on 31st May 1893 from Bombay on the sailing ship Empress of India. It was a long journey. After going through Colombo, Penang, Singapore, Hong Kong, Nagasaki, Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, Kobe, and Yokohama, the ship arrived in Vancouver on July 25th, 1893. From there, he took Canadian Pacific Railway and arrived at Chicago on 30th of July 1893. It was Raja of Ramanad or Ramananthapuram, Bhaskara Setupati Thevar, who was initially to attend the Parliament of Religions at Chicago. But after meeting Swamiji, he decided that Swami Vivekananda should attend the same. Finances were scarce, and it were his friends, the kings of different states, and also the divans of these kingdoms that put together their finances. Alasinga Perumal went door to door begging for donations. So strong was his faith in the task of sending Swami Vivekananda to Parliament of Religions. Raja of Khetri, Raja Ajit Singh, also helped him. It is said that it was this Raja who gave him the name Swami Vivekananda. On landing at Chicago, Swamiji got his first shock when he learnt that the Parliament of Religions was postponed by 3 months. The clothes that he had worn had attracted attention. The saffron robes did not protect him from the biting cold. He was laughed, people mocked at him, and children followed him on the streets. The next few days went by with people mocking and laughing at him, shutting the doors on his face when he asked for help. Swamiji had also lost his letter that proved his credentials and therefore would not be allowed entry in the conference also. That is what he had come to know. It was a chance encounter with an old lady in Boston who introduced him to Professor John Henry Wright of Harvard University. That made all the difference. He wrote an introduction. As an introduction, he wrote, "Here is a man who is more learned than all our learned professors put together." 11th September arrived. Vivekananda was nervous. He had already postponed his speech 3 times due to stage fear. All participants had a written speech. Only 29 years of age, Swamiji was addressing such a large gathering of 7,000 people for the first time. But as he rose and as the words, "Sisters and Brothers of America," flowed, the audience gave a standing ovation of 2 minutes to this young monk. He said, I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in the universal toleration, but accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations on earth. Despite facing ridicule while he waited almost 3 months for the Congress to be held in the foreign land, he never once uttered a word of hate towards them. Instead, he said, "The present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in the Gita. Whosoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me." He concluded by saying that the bell that tolled this morning in the honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism. Although more than 130 years have gone by since this talk at the historic event, the world is still not free of the demons of persecutions by the gun or the pen. It is time to remember that the world can progress only if we live by the age-old Vedanta principle of universal tolerance and brotherhood. "We are divine," said Swami. "All the powers in the universe are already ours. It is we who have put our hands before our eyes and cry that it is dark. Things do not grow better, they remain as they are. It is we who grow better by the changes we make in ourselves." So let's start today.